What's up, everyone? Thanks for clicking on this video and checking into my channel, Jace's Own World. I really appreciate it. I love when you guys look at my videos and comment. It really makes me excited every single day. Hope everyone is safe during this pandemic, and now that things are opening, it's really nice that we can get back to work, make some money, and prepare for our futures and support our families and our loved ones and all that other stuff. So I really appreciate the views during this pandemic. But anyways, I'm coming at you with this video. It's gonna be like a story time on how my MK7 GTI turbo experience has been regarding the turbos itself. And so just a little background. This is a 2017 GTI S model. I got it with 7 miles on it, brand new. And within 1 week of buying it, I put a tune on it. I put a Eurodyne stage 1.5 tune. And after I got used to that power, I decided I wanted to go stage 2 Eurodyne, 91 octane file. And so I decided to get a downpipe with that because it's required. I got a 3-inch catless downpipe, and it's a Rev 9 brand. I like them. Some people hate on them, whatever. A downpipe piece of metal is a downpipe piece of metal to me. I have explained that in my other videos. But before we get with this story about my turbos and my experiences with them, if this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe. And also give me a like if you've been here before, and if you're here for the first time, and hit that notification bell. I'd really appreciate that, and that would help me give me some ideas when you comment on future videos. But like I said, I'm going to give you a story time about the turbos. So I went stage 2 Eurodyne, and it was running really good, and it was in the middle of the summer. It was a few years ago, I don't remember which year, but it was in July, and I had a reunion at Lake Tahoe during the 4th of July. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm going out to school right out there. So for the 4th of July, we're going to Lake Tahoe, and we were going to drive out there. Before I made this trip, I wanted to make sure everything was good on my car, and also being one of those guys who does mods on their car, like we all are, we want to buy mods. So what I did is I bought some RS7 spark plugs, which are 1 step colder than the factory plugs. I also bought an aftermarket Turbo Smart blow-off valve, which is 50-50 recirculating into the air and back, and the other 50% back into the intake, like the diverter valve. It gives you that psh sound, which I really wanted because it's my first turbo car. So I thought everything was good. Those were the only mods that I had on my car at the time. Was the tune, the spark plugs, the catless downpipe, and the Turbo Smart blow-off valve. As far as engine mods are concerned, I had coilovers and wheels and tires and stuff. But those are the mods that I had on my engine. So we took this trip. It was in the middle of the summer, in July. It was about 102 degrees, and we were about 5,000 foot elevation. I was caravanning with my cousin. We were going down a hill, and I decided I wanted to pop it into fourth to, have some fun with my cousin, him and I. And I popped it into fourth, and then I hear a pop, and basically I see smoke on the freeway, and I immediately thought it was someone else, actually. And I was like, dang, that really sucks for that person. And then I put my foot on the gas, and I realized my car wasn't moving. It was just coasting down the hill. That's all it was doing. The engine was like really stuttering, like really bad, like something was really wrong with it. I was like, crap. So come to find out that my turbo blew on popping it into fourth, and I eventually took it to a shop, because an independent shop I took it to, because I had it towed to the Volkswagen dealership in Reno, and they wanted to replace the turbo with another stock IS20 turbo, and the job was going to cost $4,700. I said heck no to that. So I had it towed to an independent shop, and they were able to do the job for $520, I believe, for the labor, and I decided that I was going to buy an IS38 turbo instead of buying an IS20, but I bought my IS38 through ECS Tuning. So after that, I had to leave my car in Reno for 2 weeks. So I went back to Utah after my reunion, and I left my car there. And after 2 weeks, I took the train, the Amtrak down, which was actually really fun. If you've never done that, do that. That's a really fun ride. But I took the Amtrak down to go pick my car up. And upon picking my car up, the shop said the turbo installed just fine, but there was a idling issue that was stuttering up and down, going rin, 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 rin. And they said it was a tuning issue. I said, I don't think so. So I tried tuning it again, taking the tune off and tuning it again. We were using the Eurodyne IS38 software tune, and it still had the issue. They said, well, it drives just fine. It just has that weird idle. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just drive it home and hopefully it doesn't blow up. So I drove the car home. It's about an 8-hour trip from Reno to Salt Lake City, Utah. And it drove perfectly fine. I didn't get into boost very much, but it did drive perfectly fine, except when it was idling, it just had that idle. I was obviously nervous about that idle because it did not idle like that before. But anyways, I got home and I felt a little more comfortable because I was around my house, I knew the area, and if anything went wrong, I can just take it to my home and work on it, or take it to another shop. Well, I got home, and 2 days later, I was on the freeway and popped it into third gear. It was the first time since that new turbo was put on. I popped it into third gear, and same thing, pop, and then white smoke coming out my tailpipe. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So that brand new IS38 turbo blew up in 1 week's time with one pull. Now, I don't know if this was because there might have been some residual residue left inside the engine that the last shop didn't get, out, and then it got inside the turbo and made it blow. I really don't know. I honestly really don't know. The only good thing that came out of that was I was home and I was able to take it to a shop and have them diagnose the turbo. They diagnosed it as a bad turbo, so I was able to get that turbo replaced for free through ECS Tuning under the manufacturer's warranty, which was really nice. So I didn't have to pay for another turbo, but I did have to pay for the new IS38 to be installed by the shop, which was like another $460. So now we're in it, another $460. Well, I got that turbo installed, and when I went to go pick up the car, again, it still had the idling issue, and that shop also said it had something to do with the tune. And I was like, there's absolutely no way. There's no way. Now 2 shops are telling me that they cannot 100% fix my car because, I shouldn't be getting a car back with the idling issue. Like, I just shouldn't. And I'm like super nervous right now at that time because my brand new turbo just blew when it had that idling issue. So I was afraid that I'm gonna get the car back still with the idling issue, and then have this new IS38 blow again. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So at this point, there was no point in trying to convince the technicians at the shop that it wasn't a tune related issue, and I knew at this point that I was gonna have to figure out how to fix this for myself. So I got the car home, and I basically just searched for like a good month and a half. For a good month and a half, I searched on how I could remedify this idling issue. Finally came across one guy in the forum saying, get the VAGCOM Rostec VCDS software so that you can scan your car and you can do different things on it that you just cannot do with the OBD11. And and find out things that you just cannot do without this software. So I spent $220 or $30 to get the Rostec software, and just a little bit of digging on the internet and a little bit of digging myself, I decided to take the risk of taking my intake manifold off my engine to see if there was any gunk in there that was making the car idle weird. Because the last two shops that worked on my car, I know for a fact that they did not take my intake manifold off, because I actually asked them if they did, and they said no. So I did the job. The job was really easy but frustrating, because if you don't have the necessary tools for it, it sucks. And so if you're already taking your car apart and you don't have an extra car, how are you going to get to the shop to get these tools? You know, you just can't walk there or wait for a friend, basically. So the job was super easy. I took the intake manifold off, I cleaned it all inside and out, and I realized that there was a bunch of gunk in the intake valves themselves. So I cleaned that out really, really, really nice. And after doing a bunch of stuff, I put the intake manifold back onto the car, crossed my fingers, and started the car for the first time after putting the intake manifold off, and boom, no more idling issue. No more idling issue. It ran perfectly smooth. I took it for a test drive, and it just ran perfect. I was like, holy cow. That was the issue. There was a bunch of junk up in the intake valves that was preventing the air to flow through smoothly, and that's why I was having these idling issues. I also used the VCS software to adapt the throttle body, and I also used it to adjust my wastegate voltage, which, if you don't know how to do that, I have other videos in my video list, so go check those out. So I got my car working great, and I was like, this is awesome. I am still on Eurodyne IS38 software, which I was a little hesitant of at this point, because I had two turbos fell on it while using that software. But anyways, so I drove it for a few months with no problems, and then winter was coming up, and I always like to do a winter check. And with that check, I do several things on the car, like suspension, making sure everything's tight, nice and tight, no boost leaks, and spark plugs are good, yada yada yada. Basically a full tune-up. And so I decided to take the intake manifold off, as well as the turbo inlet pipe, to check to see if there's any play in my turbo, and for anything else that might be looking weird. As soon as I took that off, I checked for play. Play was good in the turbo, and then I noticed that there was a bent fin, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You just got to be kidding me. So here's an IS38 that now I've only had for a few months, and one of the fins is bent. And I know that there only could have been two reasons how that fin got bent. The first reason would be it was bent from the factory, and the shop did not notice it when they installed it. The second reason would be the shop bent it themselves, and they did not notice, or they did notice, but they put the turbo in anyways and never told me. So those are the only two reasons that could be it, because there's absolutely no way that the fin would be bent by debris making its way all the way through my intake and only bending one fin. It was like a perfect bend. There were no scratches, there were no marks anywhere inside the turbine itself or on any of the other fins. Everything was nice and straight. If there was a piece, if there was a chunk of debris that made its way through, there would be scratches all over. There would be all sorts of stuff. There would be more than just one bent fin, is what I'm saying, because the propeller spins so fast, it can't just hit one and then just pop out. Like, that's impossible. So I was like, you've got to be kidding. So because I felt really sketchy about that turbo with the bent fin, I decided to return that turbo and get credit on ECS Tuning's website, which they did. and they didn't ask any questions. It was a simple process, and it was awesome. So once I returned that, I said, screw IS38. I've already had two. I've already got through two. One of them blew up, and the other one had a bent fin. I just don't want them anymore. I decided at this point that I wanted to look into hybrid IS38s, and so I looked into EQT, which is a whole nother story. But I did buy the EQT, and it worked for 1 week. It boosted fine. Oh, let's take that back. I bought the EQT, but the different thing that I also bought was an aftermarket intercooler. I got a CTS turbo intercooler, as well as a custom tune, because I was like, you know what, to be safe for the car, I'm gonna buy an aftermarket intercooler, just so I'm not pushing so much heat into the turbo and the engine itself, so that I don't have another turbo fail on me. So I got an intercooler, and then I got a custom tune because I just was not having any luck with these off-the-shelf Eurodyne tunes. And so I got a custom tune through Frank Mavo. Got the EQT turbo. It boosted for 1 week, and then it just stopped boosting. After about 6 or 7 months of trying to diagnose why it was not boosting, I decided to return that turbo. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But I returned that turbo and decided to go back to IS38, which I am now currently running, and I've had it for about a year and a half, maybe just over a year and a half, and it's been on the Frank Mavo tune. Now, the biggest things that are different about running my IS38 now than when I was running my two IS38s, as well as my original IS20, are I got rid of my blow-off valve. I was like, you know, it could have been possible that the blow-off valve was one of the reasons why my IS20 blew in the first place. So I got rid of the turbo spark blow-off valve. I went back to the normal diverter valve. I also talked to my tuner, Frank Mabo, when he was custom tuning my car, and asked him if I should switch out the plugs. He asked what plugs I had in. I said RS7 plugs. He said that's a big no-no, and to go with the Denso plugs. So I immediately swapped out the RS7 plugs and went with the Denso plugs. And obviously I had the CTS turbo aftermarket intercooler now. Ever since I got the intercooler, and ever since I got rid of the blow-off valve and switched out the plugs, I have not had a single issue. Not a single issue. Everything has been running perfectly fine, and I love the car now. I mean, it's a conservative tune, so it's not the fastest IS38 out there, but I don't care. It's fast enough for me, and you know what? I'm beating a lot of cars that I shouldn't be beating anyways, but it's not about that. I don't go out searching to beat other cars. I do it for pure enjoyment on my end, and I've gotten to the point to where I just don't want to go through another turbo. Not only is it very expensive to replace, but it's also very stressful because this is my daily, and I'm out of a car when it blows. And then on top of that, having to do the job again myself, because I actually installed the EQT turbo. A friend of mine and I installed it together, as well as this new IS38. So we've done 2 turbo installs on this car ourselves. It's a pretty easy job, but do I want to do it again? No, I don't want to do it again. It sucks. So I want to keep the car the way it is because it's running great. But I just wanted to share this with you guys, give you this little story about my experiences with the turbos blowing and other issues. If your turbo ever blows and you have idling issues, look into your intake manifold, go clean those valves. It's not that hard of a job. Just take a day out of, just a day off work and just, do it. Grab some drinks or whatever, but it's not that hard of a job, but it's one of those things that the shop was not able to diagnose. And that's what I'm finding with VW in general. I've had Nissans, I've had BMWs, and I've never, ever had an issue. I've had Ford Mustangs. I've never had an issue with the dealership not knowing what to do with those brands. But for some reason, VW mechanics at the dealership, as well as these independent mechanics, it's almost like they don't know what they're talking about, which is a whole nother issue we could talk about. But me personally, I've just had too many experiences with VW mechanics thinking that they know what they're doing and saying stuff just so that they don't have to fix the job. When all that they had to do was look into taking off the intake manifold and scraping off the carbon and the oil buildup from the intake valves. That's all they had to do. They probably could have done that job in an hour or two, but they didn't do it. So point is there's a lot of things you can do yourself, and if you just do a little research and watch these videos from experiences like myself, you'll be able to know what to do for your car, what not to do for your car, what kind of mods you should and shouldn't get, so that you have a reliable car. So anyways, that's my story. My turbo's blowing. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I will get back to you with another video shortly. So thanks for checking in. Peace out.